What's up, everybody, and thanks for tuning in to another episode of Between the Cons. My name is Kris, and with me today, the Ginger Giant, Kris Too,
Hey guys,
and MF Dane.
Narilla for Willa, the villain in the gorilla song.
Was that a question?
Yeah, it was actually the end of tomorrow. November
All I heard was in a gorilla song.
in a gorilla song?
In a gorilla song?
He goes,
maybe?
it's for Willa, the villain in a gorilla song.
Yeah, it's still weird. But
Yeah, whatever.
thanks to everybody for tuning in today. We went and saw Justice League this weekend.
We sure did.
So you don't have to.
Yeah.
We're going to review...
For the love of God, stay away.
We're going to review that in just a second. But before we put you through that, thanks for tuning in. If you haven't followed us on the internet, we're on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter. Check out those places. And then leave a review for the show. You're listening, so you're already like in the app. Just click review. Just leave a little review. Just show us some love. But like I said, Justice League. Let's talk about it, I guess.
Okay.
Chewie, we're home. Live long and prosper.
We don't need roads.
We'd like to shoot the monster. Could you move, please?
Justice League came out this weekend. For those of you that have somehow missed out on Justice League and what it is the DC team-up movie, fueled by his restored faith in humanity and inspired by Superman's selfless act at the end of Batman vs. Superman: Dawn of Justice, where they assume you were still awake. Bruce Wayne enlists the help of his newfound ally, Diana Prince, to face an even greater enemy. That's the IMDb plot synopsis with some Kris commentary.
I didn't ever notice previous to this movie that Diana's last name is Prince.
Yeah.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
That's
like comic.
Uncle
That's
Lord.
comic book, man.
Yeah. So
That's cool.
we're gonna read these ratings. So on Metacritic, Justice League has a 46 out of 100. It's got a 40 on the Rotten Tomatoes Tomatometer. It has an 85% audience score on Rotten Tomatoes. And it has a 7.5 out of 10 stars on IMDb.
IMDb doesn't know what they're doing.
So this is like all over the place. Usually these are all like
They're pretty close.
within like a point or two, not
Have
a point
we
or
ever-
4.
I think this is actually a
the
good
exact
example.
same thing
I think this is a good
of-
example of.
Of what?
Go ahead, Dane.
Well, this is the same as Power Rangers. Like, critics were not about the movie, but people who went to go see it were more or less okay.
Yeah, have we talked on here about how Rotten Tomatoes score is different than other scores, like how they create their average? Because I think it's like this is a good example because the numbers are so wildly different. I know we've mentioned it before, but like how like the Rotten Tomatoes score is like the percentage of critics that gave it a positive or negative review,
Yeah,
as opposed
it's either
to
good
an
or bad.
average, as opposed to an average out of 10.
Yeah.
Like 40% is not an average out of 10. It just says
Yeah,
40%
it has a
of
5.
critics-
The average rating is a 5.3 out of 10. But either way, the movie still.
Yeah, I mean, still not good. It's just,
wasn't
it is worth
good.
like it is worth noting, and that does sort of give maybe a better context why the
Holy
There's
crap!
so much
I think I'm gonna be the
divergence.
highest person.
You
I'm gonna be
probably
the highest
are.
review.
You probably are.
I'm pretty confident.
So let's go around the horn really quick. Let's get everybody's ratings. So Kris Too, as the podcast resident DC fan, how inflated is your rating?
ha ha ha. Yeah, he's so funny. No, like
Keep going.
I'm gonna give it. I'm gonna give it a 6. There are
Okay.
parts I liked about it, parts I hated, and we'll talk about like where I think a lot of things could have been fixed.
All right, MF Dane.
I am going to go with a 6.75.
You just got to be difficult. Good. This is
Okay,
why
I'll
I
give it a
made.
7.
This is why
I'll
I
say
made
7.
a formal.
I'll go
or
7.
A formula.
I'll go 7.
You'll go 7. Yeah, you're definitely
Wow,
highest
that's
score.
high.
Wow, that's high.
I have a reason. I'm actually going to.
But in fairness, that is on par. That is the third lowest score that Dane has ever given a movie on the podcast.
Fair.
The lowest.
You just liked movies.
Being Batman vs Superman: Dawn of Justice, X-Men: Apocalypse, and this in order. You also rated this the exact same that you rated Ghostbusters. So,
yeah,
if that tells you people anything, Dane thinks it's just as good as the 2017 Ghostbusters.
Which, if you think about it, ain't that good.
Yeah, it's not.
I put
Dane's
it in
7 is
category
pretty
of-
high.
7s, well, honestly, me giving a movie a 7 basically means that even amidst all the garbage flaws it could have, I still enjoyed myself.
So you rated Suicide Squad higher than Justice League.
Oh, Suicide Squad was like my initial run of it, and honestly, I'd stand on that because I went and watched it the other day and I was like, this movie's trash, but I'm having a blast.
Yeah, I mean, this is also partly why I like ratings, but also I don't like ratings because
Yeah,
you
But
can go
literally,
back and like you judge yourself against the stuff. Like, would I, looking back at older movies, would I give those the same grades? There's some movies I might give a higher grade now. Some movies I'd probably give a lower grade to. So I don't know. Like things get set in stone.
I'd actually probably give Suicide. If I could, I'd probably go back and give it a 7. As in, 7 to me is this movie's trash, but I'm probably gonna watch it anytime I see it come on TV.
Yeah, that's fair.
And that's
So
how I feel about Justice League. If it comes on TV, I'm gonna just sit there and watch it.
So Ginger Giant, what did you rate it?
I'm gonna give it a 5.5 ginger roars.
I'm gonna give it a 5 because I didn't like it. I didn't like it at all. I'm putting it on par with Ghost in the Shell.
It was a movie.
I probably won't rewatch it. But all in all, using magical Excel formulas, that's gonna bring the Between the Cons average rating to 5.9 out of 10 for Justice League, even with Dane's wildly inflated 7.
That's not even 7.
So let's talk about Love It's and Hate It's. Kris Too, what you got?
So now is the time. If you have not seen the movie and you do not want it spoiled, stop here.
For my Love It's, for all the flaws in this movie, there were definitely moments with all the characters that I really liked. Moments that I was like, okay, they get it. They get what these heroes are, and they get why these things are good. And I think one of my favorite moments in a movie filled with forgettable one-liners or super cheesy one-liners, the moment when Flash is like basically scared of going into the fight, understandably so, and he's just doing the whole thing that we've seen in the trailers, like I don't do anything, I just run really fast and push people. And then Batman says to him, Batman says, just save one. He's like, one what? Just save one person. Okay, and then what? Then you'll know. And I love that because I think that was a moment that actually landed for me. Watching it was like, it actually gave me some kind of I had a little bit of a reaction to that of like, oh yes, this is an older, grizzled, seasoned veteran hero who's mentoring a younger one, and boils it down to as simple as that. Just save one person, and then you'll know whether or not you can keep going. And moments like there were many moments like that in the movie that were the little crystalline moments that I was like, okay, there they get it. That's good. It doesn't make up for all the other flaws, but that moments like that were nice, and I liked them, and I enjoyed those. So, and honestly, I think that was a moment that I wouldn't be surprised that was a moment that was written by Whedon. That's not a joking moment. It's just I feel like that might have been a moment that he wrote in. So things like that I really loved. I loved the shocked look on I guess. No, I'm going to wait on that. But yeah, things like that I loved. For hating it, I hated a lot of the CG stuff, particularly the thing because it just jumps on my mind because it was at the very beginning of the movie and persisted was the weird sort of uncanny valley look on the top hat on Superman's face,
Oh, the
where
mustache.
where they CG'd, where they CG'd out his mustache.
The big smudge of perfect skin.
Yeah, it's just well, and not only that, like it just his top lip wouldn't move. It looked like an Instagram filter. It looked like he just had this weird, just kind of frozen, I don't know, half stroke mouth thing going on.
Yeah, it was weird.
I don't know. It was just really apparent, and it was something that I have a problem with it for many reasons. One, I know he had to contractually keep his mustache because he was working on Mission Impossible 6, which makes no sense to me because it's really cheap in Hollywood for them to put fake mustaches on people that look good. And I feel like that would have been a better use of time and money than CGing off his mustache for when they had to bring him back for reshoots. So I don't know. In the shots where they obviously had a mustache and they had to CG it out, it was always obvious and it was super distracting. And that's in a movie with a lot of distractions. So that's my love and hate.
All right, MF Dane.
I was gonna say for my love it originally I was gonna say Aqua Bro. But really, to be honest, it was really the characterization of every single character in this movie. I liked every hero at some point in this movie.
Agreed.
As opposed, because like what was it? What did it say? Like Ben Affleck went from everyone's racist uncle. Because he was like grumpy, he was violent, he didn't trust an alien just because he didn't understand what the alien was. Like he was basically everyone's racist uncle at Thanksgiving. Right. And now in this movie, he's like super woke.
Super woke.
Yeah, like that moment where another moment was the line when he was saying the Superman was more human than me, and
he was. That was such a good line.
Yeah,
remember when he said that? I was like, oof.
Yeah, moments like that. It's like, yeah, I would totally agree with that. Each one of these characters gave me a reason to be interested in a future movie with them. And
yeah,
but those were character moments, not plot, but character moments.
And also, Flash to me seemed like he was basically like Spider-Man from Civil War.
Just excited to be there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like he was just like super, like he was excited to be there. He was like excited to be there. He wanted to be a big part of the whole thing. He was super inexperienced, but he like was probably maybe even the most powerful one there. But he just was super inexperienced, so he just had like that. Like he's like that scene where Superman sees him, he's freaking out. It's like, dude, it's funny because you can tell he's young because like anyone who knows Flash in the comics knows he's way faster than that.
Yeah, I really liked Flash. I just didn't like his personality. Like what they did to his personality, I thought it was a little too much.
Then like super young.
Well,
and
yeah,
they made him like really
like they gave him like some kind of social disorder. Like he didn't understand people, he didn't have friends, he like couldn't wrap his head around the concept of brunch. Like stuff like that was just really,
and it was all done through dialogue.
Yeah, it was unnecessary,
Yeah,
and there was no like, it was all done through dialogue. There was no like proof.
He was sort of awkward around
Yeah.
people, but most of that awkwardness was because he was either in a new situation or he was starstruck.
Right.
Like it wasn't because of like I don't know. That was way
because his brain was moving too fast or whatever. Yeah, I agree. It would have been nicer to see moments like that rather than just get it through exposition. But I would always rather have that than exposition anyway.
I also like that they didn't make Aquaman just Aqua Bro.
Yeah.
Like I was just like, please don't make him just be spouting out dude one-liners for most of this movie, and like give him some kind of character background. And then they did. Like he gets to Atlantis, and it turns out he's never been there. Like Mira, who's his wife, has never met him before.
Mm-hmm.
Like I thought that was awesome.
And it's nice because it's knowing that we might have somewhere to go with the Aquaman movie. That could be interesting.
Even Cyborg, who I knew was going to be the boring weak link, because Cyborg, for no reason whatsoever, is always super boring in all this stuff. Like, even in that Justice League War, the animated movie that's, like, super dope, that's basically this movie, too.
Mm-hmm.
The most boring member of the entire movie is Cyborg. It's just like, man, I'm sad because I'm a robot body, and that's my character. Robot body and sad.
And what was your hate it?
My hate it was the plot, but there wasn't really one to really hate to begin with. So I don't know, man. That's fair. I was gonna say that. I mean, that's really what I'm getting at here. I mean, I remember the whole movie. I was like having fun because of like the one-liners and some of the action scenes. I'm still enjoying myself, but every once in a while, I'll just stop and go, "So what's going on?"
Do what now?
Like every once.
Someone said I can't remember which reviewer it was. Somebody said that it was that Steppenwolf's plan was essentially Ganondorf's plan in Legend of Zelda.
Yep.
Is just to collect the 3 powerful items
Mother boxes
to make the world really awful.
Yeah, like that's it. Like cool. All right, I guess we're in Poland now too. All right, sure.
Yeah,
what?
It wasn't good. It wasn't good.
I remember like there was a controversy when they saw the Amazons like new outfits and they were in just like bikinis, and everyone was like, "Why are they in these and not armor anymore?" And I remember that scene though, and I was like, "Oh, it's because for no reason whatsoever, you have these women who are gonna hold the door up and flex every muscle because for some reason Snyder can't get his 300 fetish out of his brain."
Which is really dumb considering that Wonder Woman was already designed and done by the time they started working on this movie. Why would you get somebody else to do different armor? It's already there.
Like they had the same armor and then they just had like these like 6 women with bikinis and it was just so you could show them like flexing their muscles, which I'm not gonna lie, that was kind of sick when you see them holding that like stone thing up and they're just like super hard flexing and it's all abs. I'm like, dang.
Yeah, it was just there were moments. I think we talked about there were moments in this movie that made me think of when we mentioned in Wonder Woman. I think Kris, you said when we talked about Wonder Woman that it was cool that they didn't film her in an objectifying way.
Right.
And in this movie, I think I counted 3 straight up like obvious butt shots on Wonder Woman.
Oh yeah.
Where like the camera shifts and it just stops right on Diana's butt. And I was like, oh, okay, great.
That cool, Zack Snyder.
And that was my thing is like that's what happens when a different director tries to take on the same character.
Yeah, just let Patty Jenkins do Wonder Woman because that's so much better.
Yeah.
And she was awesome in this movie, but still.
Yeah. So, Ginger Giant, what was your love it? What was your hate it?
My love it is the fact that Wonder Woman is the best thing to ever happen to Justice League.
Right?
Amen.
Yeah.
She's the best character in this movie. She's the best standalone Justice League like one-off movie from earlier this summer.
Yep.
She is the actual leader of everyone. Like she's having like Batman had some like internal turmoil, as you guys mentioned earlier, and like that Superman was more of a man than he was, but she's actually, I guess he pulls them all together sort of, but like she's actually there. I don't know. I saw her as the leader. Throughout the movie.
She should be. She's the actual warrior in the group, and I don't know. I agree.
Yeah,
I like her.
Also, she just did some awesome stuff with her weaponry. I thought she like used her shield, a combination of her shield and the bracers to break the bridge they were all on in the thing, and to like blow back Steppenwolf in a couple different instances, and then like at the very beginning when she's saving all the kids from getting shot, like she's
with
cool.
with the machine gun.
Yeah,
God, that was so awesome.
That scene was so awesome. Where she's just running, blocking all those shots, and then he's just like, "Oh God!" Like you can see the look in his face of just like I'm screwed.
Yeah,
that scene right there. I was already excited from Wonder Woman 2. That scene right there reminded me. Oh yeah, we're gonna get a Wonder Woman 2 movie in further in the future. Right. Bring it on, yes.
Also, she had the most legitimate funny part of the movie, and that's when Aquaman is sitting on.
Oh my
the lasso.
God!
Oh yeah.
Oh, that was. I mean, there were other things. I gave this a 5.5 because it wasn't a good movie, and I'll argue that till the end of the day. But like one of the reasons why people rated it so high was because there was a lot of humor. There was quantity of humor.
Yeah,
and I
that's why
found
I
myself
rated it so
laughing a lot.
It was
And
the
then,
opposite of what everybody complained about earlier,
yeah.
like about other movies.
And I found myself laughing and going, oh man, I wish I didn't laugh at that because that was poorly done.
Super cheesy.
Poorly done.
You get mad, you laugh and you're mad about it. You're
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
I'm gonna give this movie my laughter.
Also, I just want to mention, because I mentioned this in Thor 2 weeks ago. I hated in Thor that they showed his hammer getting destroyed
In the trailers.
in the trailers. Alternately, I loved that they did not show Superman coming back in the trailers for this movie.
Yeah.
Yeah, I am shocked. I am shocked
Yeah.
that they did never show Superman alive in anything except for like toys
Yeah.
and stuff like that.
Maybe the best thing
was-
they did. I might say the best thing they did for the whole movie was that, because it was a great surprise and I loved it. Anyway,
And the actual
Like, you
fight
knew he
and
was
the
coming
actual
back, but you never knew how.
yeah,
and the actual fight with Superman when he's like still like, I don't know, brain scrambled or PTSD,
Yeah.
whatever.
Yeah.
That was fun, and especially the moment when he's like holding all the heroes and then Flash is running around him like, I'm gonna come at him from behind, and then he just sees Superman's eye start following him,
Yeah.
and the look on his face is, oh crap.
That was
like,
hilarious.
Moments
That
like
was
that
pretty funny,
were
too.
were great.
yeah.
Those were great.
For my hate it, there are two things I really hated. There was a lot that I hated, but two things that I really hated. The first thing was one time when Aquaman is talking to Batman on the shore before he turns around and swims into the fish. There is maybe the worst green screen I've ever seen in an actual movie behind me.
Oh yeah,
Maybe
I
the
remember
worst
that.
green screen I've ever seen. Like, it was sort
know.
of blue and not green.
I don't know which one could be worse. Was that one or the one when Clark's in the field?
Yeah, that was pretty bad too. But this, I hated that, and I also hated that Batman used his little gun thing in every scene. Like, he had some cool other toys, and like the scorpion thing or the spider that climbed them out. That was really cool. But then, like, the rest of the movie, all he's doing is like swinging around and kicking people in the chest. Batman's a cooler superhero than that.
Yep.
Yeah.
And they did him a disservice in this movie, in my opinion.
I agree. So I guess I'll go. My love it. Well, I'll do my hate it's first. So my hate it, I have two. I hated this movie. I thought it was garbage. I started falling asleep during the climax of the movie, which shows you how interesting I thought it was.
Yeah.
Because it just didn't grasp me. It didn't grab me at all. It was a 2-hour movie, and we went and saw it at 9 o'clock in the morning. And it just, I couldn't stay awake. I did stay awake, but it was a struggle. So my two hate it's. Flash runs like Phoebe from Friends. Why does his running look so stupid? Like, oh my God, the whole movie, his arms and his legs are like flailing out next to him. And it was so distracting that like I could not enjoy how cool those scenes were.
Right.
Like the one that you were just talking about where Superman turns around and looks at him.
Yeah.
Like I could not appreciate how cool that scene was.
Right.
Because I was distracted by how stupid
Yeah.
Ezra Miller looked.
It was either lightning or slow-mo.
Yes.
You know what it looked like to me? It looked like they were trying to go for that stylized, like when you see like super stylized, like fast-paced running, in anime and like action cartoons, where there's like super stylized, like arms and legs are super long as they're like sprinting. Like that's what I thought they were trying to go for.
Yeah.
I didn't get
he looked
why
like
they
he
went with
didn't
that.
have bones.
Yeah.
He
looked like Elastigirl.
He was just like
No one has
flailing.
bones in the Speed Force.
He was just flailing. The second thing is, Kris, I think it was you that mentioned the CGI was not great. Well, I feel like everybody's mentioned that the CGI was not great, but specifically, Cyborg was impossible to look at for me. Like he looked so bad. His face looked so fake. Like there were certain parts of his body that like when he was like just like when he wasn't wearing his like Rocky outfit, he
with football pads underneath.
Yeah, with football. Yeah, with like ladies blazer, like shoulder pads.
Yeah.
He looked bad. Like there were some parts where like he was like the focal point.
Yeah.
Like a certain part of him. Like there's this one thing where he like does like his finger, like rolls his fingers into a fist, and that looked really good. And then there were like a couple scenes where it was like
his dad in the kitchen.
Yeah, where he's talking to his dad, and like his face looks really good.
Yeah.
And for the rest of the movie, he looks like absolute garbage. Like if he's not the focal point, it looked like early stages, like not finished, but not like even close.
So I couldn't take my eyes away from like right below his chin, where that part of your neck is like sort of indented. And you remember in like Unbreakable and Robin Wright, she's got that like you could fit like a golf ball in it.
Yeah.
Like she's very thin anyway, but you know, like his was like you could fit a pool ball in it.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. He just did not look good. And then my love it, and I wanted to finish on the love it because it's gonna springboard us into the next portion of this, and it's my love it with an asterisk, because I loathed this movie so much. It's hard to say I love the post-credit scene, but I was really excited. I was more excited by the post-credit scene than I was by anything else that I saw in the entire movie.
I yelled curse words out loud in the theater when I saw that.
Yeah, so like Lex, it's in prison. The guy is yelling, like one of the guards is yelling after Lex Luthor because he's not coming out of his cell. Come to find out, it's not Lex Luthor. Cut to a yacht sailing like in like the New York harbor. Boom, Lex Luthor. Deathstroke walks up. Crazy town. And it kind of teases the Legion of Doom, which I think is super fun.
Yeah.
I think that there's a lot of potential in the Legion of Doom. I really hope they reevaluate the headquarters situation, because I don't know if the giant helmet in the middle of a swamp would really translate well outside of a cartoon. But I was excited about it. I am interested in seeing the second movie. Hopefully it has a positive sequel regression, unlike any other sequel ever, where the sequel is better than the original. But I think there's a lot of potential there, and I think that this movie had too much going against it with the change of directors and Zack Snyder being involved at all.
Well, and also, and with all the reshoots that had to happen, and so then with all those reshoots, they can only get so far in editing because there's still a lot of work.
But every movie makes reshoots. I think the thing with this one was Zack Snyder started making a movie.
Really late.
I think this one was Zack Snyder started making a movie, and Zack Snyder made a bad movie. He made a not good movie, like he's done with 2 other movies in the DCEU. He's made not good movies, and he left, and therefore like got DC out of their contract with him for this movie, and they're like, sweet, now we can do a good movie, let's bring somebody else in. And they made the calls. If they wanted to blow the budget to bring in additional editing teams, additional post-viz teams, they could have done that. They could have done that if they felt it necessary, but apparently they didn't. They didn't feel it necessary to make the movie as good as they could have.
I totally
you sound so angry.
But the reality, I agree with you. Like I'm not disagreeing with you, Chris, but I am saying that like there were reshoots happening a month ago. Editing teams can only work so fast. They can only do so much in an amount of time, and a month is not enough time for them to
then push the movie back. Like
I agree.
That's honestly a half finished product. What I'm saying is like if they wanted to do a reshoot a month ago, they could have hired 10 more people to come in and do. I don't know how many's a lot for editing, but let's say that 10's a lot, and I know what I'm talking about. If they want to bring in 10 more people to like split the responsibilities, they could have. They very easily could have. It would have cost a lot, but they could have done it. I'm super frustrated that we got a subpar movie because DC was irresponsible with the timing.
I wish that they had pushed the movie farther back, like way back when they first brought Joss Whedon on. I wish that they had just pushed the movie back a year. I wouldn't care, and just let it have been an entirely Joss Whedon movie. Because this movie obviously was made by committee.
Right.
And it looks like it was made by committee. It looks like a camel. It looks like there were moments, and we've all mentioned, there were moments that we liked. There were moments that stood out either characters or funny one-liners or whatever, or like there were moments that it looked visually good and lots of others that didn't. And it's because you had so many people, and like Joss Whedon is not a miracle worker. He was still working off of a lot of footage that existed before. And it's like, man, I mean, valiant effort on his part to try to salvage this.
Yeah,
but I agree.
It's not something that should have been a salvage job. It should have been
Warner Brothers. Exactly, Warner Brothers should have pushed it back and just let him just redo the whole thing.
Yeah, I just hope that
I think would have been better.
I know that Joss Whedon has the chops, and I hope that this terrible, sad sack of a movie does not infringe on his future with things like the Batgirl movie and other future projects with DC, because this is going to scar his reputation with DC.
Well, I don't know, because even though everyone knows like how much he did, I think everybody's aware of the incredible, I guess, impossible task he was up against.
Right, but he still got writer's credit.
He got writer's credit.
He got screenplay credit. Like his name is all over it in the spots that you don't want your name to be on a terrible movie.
But I think with people who make decisions are well aware of the state of things and what he was up against trying to come in. I can't imagine anyone holding this. Well,
yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, I hope they don't, because it's not. It wasn't his dumpster. Like, he didn't create the dumpster fire. He was just given he was just given the fire extinguisher. Like,
yeah, and
anyways,
we
could talk. We could talk about that for forever.
He was using an extinguisher, and then but when the fire was only half out.
And
he got a squirt. He got a squirt gun to put out a dumpster fire. That's what happened.
Yeah, and there are still things that he did that like we are looking forward to. I think. Like there are things that he did that came out of this movie that's like, oh, I'm interested in seeing what happens with Aquaman in the hands of a single team and a different director. I'm interested in seeing what happens with Flash in his own movie with his own team and own director, as opposed to this movie.
Yeah, I think the only thing coming out of this movie, the only thing that I'm looking forward to is seeing a film centered around the Legion of Doom. I didn't love Aquaman as much as everybody else did. I felt like they made him too much of a goofball, whereas like looking at the New 52, which I feel like is what at least a lot of the characters were written around, like their personalities. I felt like Aquaman was the most far off. They made him more of a goofball and less of like the comedic relief. But even still, I thought he did well. I liked his character. I just didn't love his character. Ezra Miller, I liked. Wonder Woman, loved.
That's the thing.
Yeah.
That what you just mentioned, the Legion of Doom movie, or inserted that as a villain in the next movie or 2 movies from now or whatever, and Wonder Woman. I want to watch 4 more Wonder Woman movies.
Yes.
Yeah,
I could care less about a Flash movie, Aquaman movie, a Batman solo film.
I'm tired of Batman. Honestly.
I like Wonder Woman, and I'm intrigued by the thought of Deathstroke and Lex Luthor and like the rest of the Legion of Doom having some spotlight.
Yeah.
But I think that's what we have to look forward to. Is we have these movies, the Flashpoint film, the upcoming Aquaman movie. Flashpoint, we have a concept of what that's going to look like as far as plot goes. Aquaman is still pretty up in the air. Not a whole lot other than rumors swirling around there. I think that with a Wonder Woman 2, the Batman solo film, I think Legion of Doom is coming out of this movie the most exciting thing that is new to us that we weren't expecting. So to wrap everything up, Justice League, unless you're Dane, it wasn't great. Or no, even if you are Dane, because 7 is a not great score for Dane.
It was a dumpster fire.
Yeah, it wasn't great. It was worth watching.
It was a dumpster fire with characters I enjoyed enough to actually want to see them in other things. Like y'all were saying, like the Flash.
There you go.
I'm waiting for Flashpoint, because if they're smart, what they'll do for Flashpoint, they'll do what they did for Spider-Man Homecoming, and they'll put Wonder Woman and Aquaman in there, and they need to put them in there as they are in the Flashpoint story. So when he goes back, Wonder Woman
kind of teased it.
Yeah, like Wonder Woman is like leading as like a cruel dictator. Aquaman's also another cruel dictator.
Yeah, and I think they have to for Flashpoint, especially if they stick to the storyline in the comics, because there's a war between Atlantis and Themyscira in Flashpoint.
And all they have to do is be better than the Flashpoint from the CW series, which ain't hard to be.
Right.
And that might mean we could get Jeffrey Dean Morgan as Thomas Wayne.
If we can. Like everyone's hoping.
That would be great.
Yeah, that'd be great. But all in all, 5.9 out of Between the Cons for Justice League. Definitely not the worst DC movie, but
not great.
Actually, yes, it is. It is the worst because Kris.
It's not the worst.
Because Kris, for some reason, rated Batman vs Superman: Dawn of Justice with an 8. So
X-Men Apocalypse was
it is, but it's the worst DC movie.
Oh, gotcha.
It's the worst DC movie that we've reviewed on the show. Suicide
Even
Squad.
though we don't believe it is.
Suicide Squad at 7.3. Batman vs Superman: Dawn of Justice at 6.5. You really messed that one up for us, Kris.
Right? Like y'all are just a bunch of haters now at this point.
But thank you guys so much for tuning in. Check out our website, betweenthecons.com. Check us out on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter. On your podcast app, go back, listen to any episodes you've missed, because we do not have any new episodes coming out this week. It's Thanksgiving, so enjoy some time with your families. And we'll be back next Thursday with the news. That'll be MF Dane and I, assuming MF Dane isn't like washing his hair or something. But we'll be back. We'll bring you the nerdy news then. Don't watch Justice League. Just
go eat turkey and be with your family.
Yeah, just do anything
and
else.
watch The Punisher to get away from them.
Yeah, anything else instead. Watch The Punisher. That's been good so far.
I haven't started it at all.
It's been good so far. But thank you guys so much for tuning in. Subscribe to the show, betweenthecons.com/subscribe. You guys have a great week, great Thanksgiving, and we'll talk to you next Thursday.
Gobble, gobble.
White polar bear looking dogs.